So just hand tighten it down. Once the oil filter stops, just give it a quarter of a turn. This will be the first oil change that I am performing on my Hona Golwing since I had the primary drive gearbox performed earlier this year at the Honda dealership. At the time, my Hona Golwing had around 24,000 miles or so, and now my Hona Golwing has over 30,000 miles. So I wanted to take this opportunity to perform an oil change here in this video. So let's look at some of the items that I'm going to use to perform the oil change. Now, when I had the Honda boat recall performed, the dealership went back with the Honda original oil with an original filter. But for my oil change, I'm going back with AMSOIL. It's a 10W40. Now, the Hona Golwing calls for a 10W30, but since I pull a trailer full time, I'm gonna go back with the 10W40. I like the AMSOIL because it's formulated for wet clutches. It's 100% full synthetic, and I've been getting some very good results over the years about using AMSOIL. So I'm gonna go back with AMSOIL, 100% full synthetic. My filter, I'm gonna go back with a Fram. It's an XG6607, and I like this particular oil filter because it's formulated for synthetic oil, and it filters down to 20 microns. So there's a lot of my viewers that may not like Fram, but for my Hona Golwing, it offers greater protection than that original Honda OEM filter. So we're gonna go back with Fram. Also, I'm gonna use these two oil filter cups. One is for the original, the smaller. This is for the original Honda oil filter. And we're gonna use this one for the Fram. So I got two oil filter cups. And if that oil filter is stubborn, I got some leverage. So I'm gonna use this long bar for leverage if the oil filter is stubborn, but I don't think we're gonna have a problem. I'm gonna change the transmission filter. The DCT has the transmission filter. It's an original Honda filter. We're gonna get that changed as well. The tools that I'm going to use to perform the oil change, I have a 12mm socket on a 3/8 drive braking bar, and I also have a 5/16 socket on a stubby to remove the bolts from the cover of the transmission filter. So those are gonna be my tools. I have more tools if I run into a problem. Also, this is one of the tools that I like to use to remove the transmission oil filter. This is actually some snap ring pliers. I like to spread the pliers to grab that filter and pull it down. So we're gonna use those as well to remove the transmission filter. Got some shop towels. The thing about performing an oil change on this Hona Golwing is that it is very messy on the DCT, and the Hona Golwing sits very low, so I have some shop towels. And last but not least, very important, will be the oil drain pan. This is a drain pan that'll hold up to 11 quarts of oil. It even has a spot here where you can set your oil filter when you take it off of the bike. And I like this because it's a low profile oil drain pan, and it'll slide right underneath the Hona Golwing. The Hona Golwing has low clearance, so you need an oil pan that's gonna get under there and catch all of the oil. I will include a link in the description of the video where I picked up this oil pan, and this thing comes in handy. I really, really like it. So I have everything I need to perform the oil change. All right, so let's dive into getting this oil change performed. So we're gonna take out the oil stick on this side. And this is gonna help the oil to drain better. You can loosen that stick and just sit it there. I'm just gonna take it all the way out. And I'm going to just sit it to the side on this paper towel. Also remove that cap, the oil fill cap. You can remove that as well to make it a little bit easier to drain. So we have the engine warmed up to operating temperature. Now we can go underneath and remove the engine case guard. I got 4 bolts in the front and 3 in the rear, and we're gonna take off this engine case guard. And now I can lower the engine case guard. And I'm gonna just slide that to the side. The DCT has 3 oil drain plugs. We have 1 here on the front. We have 1 underneath. And we have 1 here toward the rear. So we're gonna loosen this first drain bolt. So I'm gonna attempt to hold on to this oil drain plug. When I pull it free, then the oil can fall into the pan. Okay. There's the first bolt with the washer. We got it out. Next, I'm gonna take out the drain plug underneath and just break that free. Take off my ratchet, take off that socket. I'm attempting to keep the washer onto the drain bolt without dropping it over into the oil. Okay, she's ready to come free, so I'm going to make sure I grab it. And now I can let that drop down into the oil pan. So there's the second drain bolt with the crush washer attached. And next I can work on removing the rear oil drain bolt. I'm going to take my 12mm and just break it free. Get my oil pan in position. And I'm going to attempt to do this without dropping the crush washer or dropping the drain bolt. I know my hand is in the way. Here we go. And we got the oil drain bolt removed. Or since I'm on the rear, I could go ahead and remove the rear transmission filter. So I'm just going to kind of slide that to the side. So we got a couple of bolts here that we got to take out. I'm using my 5/16 ratchet. And we got 2 bolts that we need to take out. So we got 1 loose. And then we got 1 here. that I need to loosen. Break that free. Trying to keep the oil contained. So when I take out this transmission oil filter, we got a spring in there that we don't want to lose. And we're going to take out 2 of these bolts, 5/16. There's one. Rotating my pan around to keep the oil from spilling. There's a second bolt. There's a spring. That's why it's good to put down a mat, because you will spill oil. So put down some cardboard or some paper, because as you can see, you have very little clearance underneath. So I got the spring. It sits right in that cap. Keep up with that. That's the cap, and you got an O-ring on there. Those are the 2 bolts that hold the cap. And this is the rear drain plug with the crush washer. Next, I need to remove the main oil filter. So the next step is removing the Honda original filter, which a lot of bikers kind of run into a problem when it comes to removing this filter, because from the factory, I'm hearing that they tighten the filter too tight. So make sure you got a good oil filter wrench or alternate oil filter removal tool to get off that Honda oil filter. I will include a link where I picked up this oil filter cup for my Honda original oil filter. Next, I'm going to take my braking bar and it shouldn't be hard to turn. So we're just going to put some pressure on it and make sure we go counterclockwise. That was a little bit tight, but it was nothing. It wasn't too tight. And now it's starting to come free. I'm just gonna slide my pan back over. So far, no oil is running down the filter, which is good. Got a little bit, there it goes. And I'm gonna let that drain. So I'm gonna reach in with my paper towel, and I'm gonna flip this thing upside down and let the oil drain back into the pan. So I need to take out the transmission oil filter. I'm just gonna slide the pan out of the way so I can get underneath where the filter actually goes. I'm gonna take my ring pliers and I'm gonna reach in, and as I squeeze, I'm gonna pull down. As you can see, oil is starting to run. And like I say, when you do your DCT, man, it's really, really greasy. So put down a mat to catch all of that oil. So I'm gonna reach in and pull out the transmission filter. There's oil trying to pour out of this thing. Just gonna pull down, and there's the filter. There's the transmission oil filter. I'm going to just wipe any oil from underneath the engine. So looking underneath, we got the transmission oil filter removed. Here at the rear, we have the rear bolt removed. We have the side and the bolt underneath removed. And we also have the oil filter removed. So to put back the transmission oil filter, I'll include a link of everything that I'm using here in this video. Looking at the DCT oil filter, we got the little rubber gasket at the top. At the bottom, we just have a opening. So the rubber gasket goes to the top. We're gonna just push that back up in there. Okay. Next, we're gonna take the cap that actually comes off of the transmission oil filter. And this thing gonna sit up in here. You can kind of see how it goes. It's gonna go like this. So the bevel, this little bevel part is gonna go toward the rear. The smoother part is gonna go toward the front. You can actually see exactly how it's made. So to get that back in there, I'm gonna take my spring and I'm gonna sit the spring there on the top. I'm gonna push it back in with the bevel toward the rear. I'm gonna try to hold it with one hand so you guys can see it. I'm gonna get the 5/16 bolt ready. I'm gonna reach in with one hand to hold it. I'll take my 5/16 and I'm just gonna get it started. I'm gonna grab my second 5/16. And I want to get it started as well, because the spring is trying to push it down. So you want to do one side at a time, just kind of hand tighten one side at a time. Be sure to check that O-ring that's around that cap. If it's damaged, you want to replace that O-ring. I'm going to take my short stubby. I just want to make sure that I'm not cross-threading, alternating which bolt that I tighten. You'll feel it start to get tight. I'm just going to put just a little bit extra on there, just a little bit, not a lot. You don't want to break it. Okay, that side is, we have the spring inside, we have a good O-ring. So next I can screw in the drain bolt toward the rear, the crush washer. Going to use my short stubby just to tighten this drain bolt. Next, I could put back the two drain bolts toward the front, one here on the bottom, the next drain bolt on the side. And I'm going to just use my little stubby ratchet to reinstall the drain bolt. And do the same for the second drain bolt for a total of 3. So next I can wipe up any oil that remains underneath. One of the things that I like to do is preload my oil filter with oil. Just gonna pour in some fresh oil, get it preloaded. Also take a little bit of that fresh oil and run it around that gasket. When you put back on the oil filter, once you hand tighten the oil filter down, once the oil filter stops, give it a quarter of a turn. At the most, you maybe can give it a half a turn once it stops, but you don't want to keep cranking down on the oil filter. Otherwise, when it's time to take the oil filter off, it's going to be virtually impossible to remove it. I have the Fram oil filter preloaded with oil. I got my oil filler cup, and I'm just going to slide that underneath just so I can grip it. And I'm going to hand tighten this thing. Just want to hand tighten it. Make sure you don't cross thread it. It should be free to spin. Once it stops, you technically want to give it a quarter of a turn. So this is the problem. Even at the manufacturer, some of them just keep turning and turning until you don't turn it like a boat. You know, you turn it until it stops. Once it stops, give it a quarter of a turn. So just give it a quarter of a turn once it stops. So we're going to give it a quarter. So we're going to go a quarter of a turn. That's all the tension you need to put on your oil filter. So if you keep turning and keep turning, once this thing seals to the bottom of the engine, it's going to be virtually impossible to get off the next time you do an oil change. So just hand tighten it. Once the oil filter stops, give it a quarter of a turn. Now, if you want to, you can give it another, maybe a half a turn. But that's all you need. You don't really want to go any more than that. Wipe up any excessive oil that may be on the bike underneath. And one of the things I like to do, I like to take some brake dust cleaner and just kind of clean the area to get up any wet oil. And I'm going to just spray. Keep in mind this stuff is flammable. You want to make sure that you don't have that you're not smoking a cigarette or having any flames near this brake dust cleaner, because this stuff is flammable. So just take the opportunity to clean underneath your Goldwing. Take our remaining oil. The Hona Golwing calls for 4.9. I just generally put back 5 quarts. Liquid gold. So that's a total of 1, including the preload. The Hona Golwing calls for a 10W30, but I'm going back with 10W40 since I pulled a trailer. And this will be the first oil change since my primary drive gear bolt recall. That's a total of 2. This would be my 3rd quart of oil. And that's the thing about doing your own oil change, is that you know it's done right and you're using good supplies, good parts, good oil, good filters, and you can save yourself some money by doing it yourself. And that's going to be my 5th quart of oil. So next we're going to just let the bike run, get up to operating temperature, and I'm going to verify that I do not have any leaks. I'm going to put back the oil fill cap. and put back the oil stick on the opposite side. Just let it run, and I'm gonna verify that I do not have any leaks on the Hona Golwing. I just want to show you the proper way to check the oil. So the proper way to check the oil, you want to take the oil stick completely out of the engine. You want to wipe it off, and when you put it back down in there, you don't want to screw it back down. You just want to sit it down in there. And once you sit it down in there, you want to make sure that the oil is between this lower notch and this top notch. So long as it's in between those two notches, that means that the oil is normal. So I'm just going to place it in there. I didn't turn it or anything. I'm going to pull it back out and verify that it's between the two notches. So if you look closely, the oil is sitting right there in the center between the two notches. Closer to the top is full. So I just wanted to show you the oil looks good. The synthetic Amsoil 10W40 for my Hona Golwing, and this is the proper way to check the oil. So after the oil change is complete, the next step is just letting the bike run for about 5 minutes to verify that there are no leaks coming from the drain plugs or coming from the oil filters. Once you verify that you do not have any leaks, then it's permissible to put the engine case guard back onto the bottom of the Hona Golwing. And that's going to do it for my video on how I changed the oil on a 2018 through 2025 Hona Golwing. If you have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to put it in the comment section below. If you like this video, click the like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you would like to support the Caliente YouTube channel, don't hesitate to click that thanks button. It really helps the channel out. And this is going to complete my video, and I'll see you a little bit later out here in the Caliente garage.